Church, God is so incredibly good. We went out shining his light, and because of his favour and his goodness and his mercy, this was an awesome team. We saw amazing things, and it was just incredible. And so we give God all the glory and the honour and the praise for that.
Amen.
I'm just going to give a very quick overview of the Cambodia trip, and then we're going to move on to hear specifically from each of our team members, which is going to be amazing because, their experiences that they have brought back with them, we have prayed that will really touch your hearts here tonight too. So our trip started flying into Siem Reap, where we had John join us. He was part of the team the whole time through our Cambodia trip, and he's just an amazing guy. He's an incredible interpreter. And he was just one of the team. He was just one of us. He just fitted in perfectly. So it was just awesome to have him with them. He worked so hard. Like, his name was being called from every direction all the time. Hey, John, can you come tell them? Can you please ask them? Can you please help us? But he's just incredible. It was great to have him with us. And then Derek and Lisa, who you might remember went over to Cambodia recently, they joined us when we got to Sisapon. So it was great to have them along with us as well as part of the team. Pastor David will share a little bit more about the pastors' conference. It's just incredible, meeting up with some of the pastors we know and new pastors, and just talking to them and hearing their heart and just sharing with them was just an incredible time. And just seeing their hearts for Cambodia is just so incredible. We had a bit of a change of plan, no problem moment. We went to plant 1,000 trees. And so on Tuesday morning, we thought we were going to do that. And we sent a team off to the uni, and Danny did an awesome job heading that up. She was absolutely amazing. But we found out we had no trees to plant. And yeah, exactly. But, we always go with a plan B and C and D probably because it's Cambodia. But so while we were just sorting all that out, we found out, yes, the guy who even organised the trees wasn't even in Sisapon. So that was encouraging. But at the end of the day, we found out the trees were arriving the next day. So that was awesome. We still went and dug holes in preparation. And so we still planted over 1,000 trees, which was fantastic. We got it all done in the end, and that's just how Cambodia rolls, isn't it, guys? We went into the drug rehab this time. Now, last year we didn't get to go in, but we bought them some kits to teach the guys some skills for when they leave the drug rehab, so with welding and electrical kit and beauty for the girls. And this year, we actually saw them using that. We saw them doing stuff. They've built buildings. They were busy building a building at that time as well. It was just amazing to see how far they'd come. And these guys came in for the concert, and they were hard. Let me tell you, some of those faces were hard as. By the end of it, they were dancing, they were laughing, they were clapping, and just the transformation from when they all got marched in, literally, and sat down to when we left was absolutely incredible. And the guy that runs the drug rehab came up to us afterwards, and he could have asked for a lot of things. And he said, "Can you guys just please buy us some rice?" And it was like, of course we can buy you some rice. So we went off the next day and got 150 kilograms of rice and took it back to them, and they were just blown away. They absolutely loved it. So God just opens doors. Wherever you go, you're just obedient. You're like, yeah, we'll go into a drug rehab and do that. And then at the end of the day, God's favour is all over it. It was just incredible. Absolutely incredible. I just want to honour the committee as well. There's a committee of pastors that we work with in Cambodia, and they do a lot of work, for us to go there and do what we do. So I just want to honour them as well in everything that we've done over in Cambodia. So that was great. We did our concerts as usual, but Jason's going to talk a little bit more about that. But, it doesn't matter where we go, shining that light just is amazing. I was having a conversation with this guy at one of the high schools after the concert, and he was very talkative. His English was very good, and he spoke very quickly. But basically, the bottom line was, you didn't get much of a word in, actually. The bottom line was, he's like, I'm not a Christian, But the committee had organised for all these Bibles to be handed out. He's like, I'm not a Christian, I don't believe in all that stuff, but I took a Bible, I'm going to read the Bible, I want to see what it's all about. And all. I was just like, that is awesome. I'm like, because how cool is that? Like, he's like, I am not a believer, but I'm going to read the Bible. And I'm like, yeah, you are, because the Holy Spirit is going to be working the whole way through that Bible. Isn't that so cool? Absolutely amazing. So that's just one little thing from one of the concerts. And that's just incredible. And of course, we handed out rice as we normally do after the main concert, which is just an incredible experience for the whole team. It's always a highlight to give, those people can't afford food. They get tickets to come and get rice at the concert. So they can only get it if they've got a ticket, because the pastors know that they can't afford food. And just handing that rice out to them is incredible. It was just amazing. And then visiting churches on Sunday was just incredible. It was everyone had different experiences. It was absolutely amazing. We visited the church of a guy that we actually met in 2013, which was great. But as Cambodia is, they gave us lunch afterwards, and then, the bus with the other guys came to pick us up, and he was like, no, we've got to go pray for the house. And this guy in his church they just built a house, which was close. And he's like, we want to go pray for the house. It's like, okay, we'll go pray for the house. I mean, these guys have already been waiting, but we'll quickly go pray for the house. So we'll walk over to the house, and we're getting the house, and we're like, okay, can we pray for the house? Can we pray? We've got to go. Can we pray for the house? And then they all come in, and he's like, first, we sing songs. It's like, okay, we're going to sing songs, and then we will pray for the house. So eventually we finished singing songs, prayed for the house, made our way back, and jumped in the car. Everyone was waiting very patiently for us who was there. And you might notice our scarves. We wouldn't have had scarves last year, but the high school that we go into every year, the principal wanted to give every team member a gift. And so they lined us up at the concert, and he came around and personally gave everyone their scarf, put it around our necks. So it was just fantastic. It was absolutely amazing. Just the goodness and the kindness of them, now that we've built that relationship, that, God's goodness and favour on all those relationships is amazing. So we are now going to move on to all our team members.
Yes. Hearing our stories. Hands up if you are in the audience tonight because someone that you know or love, or someone from your family, is sitting on stage right now. If they're part of your family, look at that. That is awesome. The really cool thing about here at Emerge Church with our mission trips is that this might have been the team that went over, but we represented Emerge Church, and we represented the goodness of God. And so you're going to hear stories, you're going to hear personal testimonies, and you're going to have an insight into the goodness of God just being unleashed on Cambodia through the team being there. And our first story is with the one and only Rob Camilleri. Where's Louise? Is Louise here tonight? Yes, Louise. Now, Louise, Rob, should Louise let you go on mission trips?
Yeah, always.
Because you always seem to leave a little part of you every place you go.
The instructions are just to bring enough pieces home to put me back together.
So Rob, you're an amazing person having on team over there. We honour Rob. Rob does so much, not only in Cambodia but here as well at Emerge. So Rob, thank you first of all for all that you do. You're an all-in guy. So and we know that. We love you for that. Rob was one of the ones key in organising the projects, and he's there trying to work out why all of the plants have already been planted and what we can do, and just trying to sort it all out. But he doesn't just lead from behind, he gets out there and leads from the front as well. And Rob, what happened to your leg?
Okay, so that whole change of plan, no problem. So there's no trees. And it's like, well, I've got 18 people standing around looking at me. So what are we going to do? And so the teacher just says, well, there's this whole area here which is about a half an acre. It's all overgrown. If you guys can get on one of the two whippersnippers and clear it. And I'm thinking, oh, geez, we really haven't got any sort of risk protocol for this. So I grabbed one of them because they're not like here where they use cord. It's this great big piece of plate steel that swings around. And like honestly, some of the stuff was this tall, and it's about that round, and it's actually wood. So as a result, the front of my legs just looked like it was all like little red dots. As it turns out, one of those little red dots had something in it that wasn't really good for me. And I learnt that in Cambodia, things can go from, oh, that's just a little dot, to I can't put weight on my leg anymore and I've got cold and flu symptoms. So yeah, for those that don't know, that was a staph infection. But with antibiotics, it was cleared up really quickly.
But we got you sorted out in the end, didn't we, Rob? Yes, we got him sorted out. Now, Rob, you also had the pleasure of sharing this trip with someone very special. Can you tell us about that?
All right, so my son, 13-year-old son, Jeremy. Early last year, Jeremy said, I want to go to Cambodia. And I said, well, you better start saving. Turns out like he wasn't able to make it that year. And we told him that he had to come up, I can't remember what the figure was, but it was a lot of money. And I thought after the first year, we'll see, because he's going to want to spend that money. No, he just kept at it. He kept at it. And I've got to tell you, he gave it 100%, and just being able to share that with him, because like for me, I love doing missions, and God's awesome. It is a great adventure. You get to meet people. There's so many awesome experiences, but when you just go with you, it's sort of hollow, if that makes sense, because you come back and other than the people that you went with, you've got nobody really to share it with. This time for me, it's a little bit of a selfish indulgence. I've got my son, and man, that was so good, just in its, yeah.
Just before we move on, just to clarify, that's not a cigarette hanging out of Rob's mouth. I saw you all looking. That is not a cigarette. That is a guitar
I said,
lead.
of all the photos,
that
don't
is a guitar
use
lead.
that one.
Thank you, Ben.
I'm
that is a guitar
soldering
lead.
a connector. That is a connector
Is
for
that
a guitar
correct,
lead in my mouth. Please, I don't
Rob
smoke.
did get pretty stressed out, but I don't think he resorted to any smoking in Cambodia.
It is definitely a guitar lead.
Alrighty, we'll just move right on. And so Ashley did quite a few things in Cambodia and experienced quite a few things in Cambodia. But first of all, I want to know, did you really enjoy eating bugs?
Look, it wasn't too bad. I was expecting a lot worse. It tasted like chicken.
Oh.
It did.
Okay.
It was nice and crispy, nice hairy leg.
There you go. That's what bugs taste like. So, if you want to change your diet, Ashley's got a few tips for you. Ashley, your first time in Cambodia?
Yes, it was.
Was it what you expected, and what was your highlight?
It was, in some ways, what I expected, but then in other ways, like, very different. I guess what took me by surprise was just the connections that were made with the children in such a short amount of time. There were some kids that had come up to me just while we were planting trees and just wanted to help. We'd never met, we'd never spoken, but like just my heart broke straight away, and the empathy and the love that I had for them was something I'd never felt before. And just recognizing God's love anywhere that we can go, that connection and that heart for others can be experienced anywhere.
Awesome.
Harry, down the front, good-looking young man. Harry, this is also your first trip to Cambodia. You had a very special experience at the drug rehab that Nikki mentioned. Do you want to share, about
They left me there all trip.
So you had the privilege of sharing your testimony there. Do you want to just share with us tonight what that was, how that was for you?
So as Joe said, this was my first time coming to Cambodia, and this was the first concert we did on this trip. So it was sort of the start of sort of what we do on that section of the trip. And we sort of get there, and it's pretty confronting from the start. So it's like a massive, like, corrugated iron fence with razor wire all over the top. So it's pretty much a prison. And we get in there, and there's sort of like classroom-sized buildings with bars on the windows and just filled with beds, and all the people who are staying at the centre just in there. And then, as Nikki said before, they come out in such like a militant style. They march out, they're told to, stand at attention and then sit down. But sort of as soon as we started the concert part, they're up and like jumping around and going absolutely crazy. So they obviously, it's not something they do pretty regularly, but when we finished with Let Go, and they were just going wild, jumping around, like doing the oh la la actions. And they loved it so much so that the band walked off, and Pastor Chin, who's one of the missionaries that we support, has walked up, grabbed the microphone and gone, again. And so all the band have had to come like running back, and just like straight away with just as much energy, they've just started going again. And the whole time we're at the rehab center was just like chaotic. Like after that, Pastor Chin's son then just walked up, grabbed Jason's guitar and starts playing a third encore again. Jason freaks out, runs over to the keys, and I'm not even sure the song that we did, but just improvised a third encore as a song. So it was awesome. But seeing that difference from just how they walked in to sort of the first image of the place that we had to, just seeing them jumping around and really getting some enjoyment out of it was awesome. And with my testimony, it was awesome. I talked about how I sort of grew up in church, walked away and came back. And then I think at the schools, like Sammy did hers, which was awesome, and Rosie did as well. And we all did it with like translators. But it's just so crazy that through telling our own stories, we can get around that sort of language barrier that we have, and, really make a connection with those that we're telling the stories to. So,
It's cool. So Harry, also Saturday night, we're like busily preparing all of what we're doing for Sunday and all the churches and everything. And there's Harry and me and a couple of others working away on what Harry was going to be sharing the next day at church, putting together a message and praying and worked it all out, got it all ready. And Harry just had this incredible thought from God. And then tell us about the experience Sunday morning at church.
So as Pastor Joe was saying, we were up till like 1 a.m. I mean, we're saying it's hard work. Half of it was getting massages for like $5 for an hour. But still talking through the message and, all the hard stuff.
I was sleeping.
That's right. So we do all that. And it was Pastor Chin's church. So it was an awesome opportunity. And I was so grateful for it. And they go up and they do their praise and worship, which I got to hear One Way Jesus twice in a day, that's just amazing. That was my highlight. But they do their praise and worship. They do like their short announcements and that. And then Pastor Chin's just like, you, testimony, 5 minutes. I'm like, but I was up till 2 on this message. But no, it was awesome. It was like a really young demographic at his church. So I think it was definitely God just wanting me to share that testimony again. But the whole trip was awesome. It was really good.
So good. I reckon you've got a message prepared for another time now, which is pretty cool. Hey, come on. Now, do we have any vegetarians or vegans in the house tonight? Hands up, vegetarian, vegan. Right, there's a few vegan wannabes over the other side. So we had a couple of vegans on our trip. Now, one of them in particular, Danielle Ramolta, decided that it was okay to eat meat in another country when you are paid $10 US. Now, Alex and I, wait, give everyone a wave, Alex. Alex threw in $5 US. I threw in $5 and we asked Danielle, will you eat this cricket for $10? Now, I'm not sure if it's her theory, but apparently because like crickets are they eat vegan food, so that makes them vegan, so it makes it okay to eat vegan. Now Danielle, you're nodding the wrong way. Did this happen?
Yes. No further questions. No further questions. No further questions. Thank you.
Now, the scary part for me was I'm having all this fun with Alex and we've got Danielle to eat a vegan cricket. Pete walks over. Danny. I'm like, see you, Pete. I am out of there. Now, Danielle, aside from doing stuff like that, for you, interacting with all of the young people at the concert and in the schools, how was that for you?
Yeah, interacting with the students through the concerts and through the schools, it was just awesome because, I just want to start by saying like music is universal and there's a spiritual connection within music that God has given us that just enables us to connect easily to the students. And it doesn't matter whether the music is in English or whether it's in Cambodia, they just connect to whatever is there. And I think one moment that was really powerful was seeing all the students that I connected with by planting trees and just seeing them at the Sunday concert. We were singing Hosanna and there were all the kids that I spoke to and they were right at the front and their arms were just wide open and they were just immersed in the presence of God. And that hit me because it clicked into my brain that God isn't limited by language. It doesn't matter, like God is already there and all they had to do was just open their hearts. So connecting to them was so easy because music is universal. So, yeah.
Awesome. Siobhan, now you've been to Cambodia before. Yeah. Yes. And you have an incredible way of connecting with kids over there. You have a very special gift. And so, having been there before, you went to the same kids' church this year, which was awesome. But just connecting with those kids again this year, how was that, building on the relationship in the churches and also at the schools? Because there were a lot of familiar faces out at the schools as well. So how was that for you?
It was really cool because I didn't actually see one of the girls that I met last year. She saw me first and she recognised me, so that was really sweet. It was really very emotional in a good way of seeing them again and reconnecting them with them, especially going to the kids' church, seeing Pastor Pip Pop. If you don't think that's his name, you've got to come and meet him. He's a really lovely pastor. Pastor Pip for short. He's really sweet. Seeing some familiar faces and seeing faces that I didn't see last year, that was really cool. And I didn't tell anyone, but there was a boy at the church that I went to that was at our church concerts in the school. So that was really cool seeing him come back and seeing him at the church. So that was really cool. And the girls it was the same group as last year. It was just like I didn't leave. It was like, it's just like going back to my family. Like it was just so cool, just seeing them. So yeah.
It's so good. It was so cool to like seeing, like for me, coming along and haven't been over there with the team, seeing like all these young people just come running up to like certain ones on the team that they remembered. And the funniest one for me was this guy came and got a photo with Jason, and then on his Instagram story that night is like, at Jason Bedville 2018, at Jason Bedville now 2019. It was hilarious. He like still had photos of Jason with a lot less hair from last year. It was awesome. But isn't it cool, like just seeing the team, just bring joy into their lives? It's so awesome. So good, Siobhan. Now, Ben Pentony, you're a good man. You took all of these photos for us. You put together the videos. Can we thank him? Because we get to be a part of the trip because of Ben.
Thank you.
It's so good. So good. Now, Ben, you would see things a lot differently to most of us because you're generally over there, like in some strange, like crouch position, taking a shot, getting the right angle and stuff like that. But you're seeing a lot of the trip from behind the lens. Could you try and summarize, I know it's difficult, in one thought, like what it was, like sort of almost looking from the outside in, but still being a part of the trip? What were you feeling as you were doing all of this for us?
Well, first thing is, as you can see in that photo there, selfies first, professional photography second. They love their selfies there. But yeah, jokes apart, it was such an awesome trip just to be there. And 3 instances, like one was at the churches that we went to on the Sunday. So Nikki organized it that I visited a few of the churches to get some footage from each of them. There were churches there that literally had no roof above their head. There was a tarp and they were sitting on a cart. But you could sense the presence of God there. There were kids, really young kids, just worshiping God there. And to see these photos, sit back at night and look through these photos and think, these people literally have nothing, but they have one thing that we all share, and that's God's presence in their hearts there. That was just amazing there. The second thing was a drug rehab concert, as Harry spoke about. It was different, shooting there. Like, they looked pretty hard. Like they, with their shaved heads and all that, they marched in, they marched out. They were like the heads, they were barking orders at them. It was pretty scary for us. We were actually working out an escape plan just in case something goes wrong. We were literally doing that. But halfway through Ooh La La, I was there in the midst of their little mosh pit that they had going, was standing there, recording them. They were high-fiving me, just dancing for me in front of the camera. To think that these people, one, they don't understand the language. Two, they would have never been at a Christian music concert like this before. But here they are, just worshiping God, not knowing a single word of what we're singing there, but they're worshiping God, which was just amazing to be there. And then the Sunday concert as well, the big concert that we had. To think that we're here in a foreign country, and there's people there worshiping God. I'm standing there, filming them, worshiping God. They don't know the language either, but here we are, in an open air place, in a foreign country that's not a Christian country, and there's hundreds of people in front of me there, and I get the privilege of recording that, and that just, those moments just literally brought tears to my eyes, just watching that there. It was just amazing. I loved it. I'll definitely do it again.
Awesome. That's great. Now moving on to Deb. Deb is one of our regular Cambodian trippers, and she's got such a beautiful heart, and she's so incredibly faithful, and she has formed a beautiful relationship with a group of widows over there, and every year she goes back to the village and spends time with them, which is just incredible. She organises, she makes sure she gets there, and it's just absolutely amazing. So Deb, can you share a little bit about your experience with the widows this time, and also don't leave out that healing that happened that we all heard about. It was absolutely awesome.
While the guys went out to the killing fields, my brother Kerry, who came this year, who apologises he can't be here tonight, and my grandson Micaiah went in a tuk-tuk out to the widows' village, and it was just so beautiful to reconnect with the ladies again, and they were all fascinated that I was a little bit chubby, and they all gave me little pinches like they always do. And the great thing about it is my grandchildren contribute to the widows' village, and to be able to take my grandson there was just so awesome. When I went the first year, my husband planted that seed by saying to my eldest granddaughter, who's 15 this year, Zoe, Mar will take you. And Zoe wasn't allowed to go by her parents. And meanwhile, God had been preparing Micaiah's mother's heart down the back there with the bubby, and preparing her heart, saying, Mar, I think you should take Micaiah. And I said, oh no, Zoe's the eldest, so she gets to go first. But because Zoe couldn't go, Micaiah went, and it was just amazing to have him in that widow's village, connecting with the children, and giving them gifts, and it impacted him more than I could ever imagine.
Yeah, so good. Very awesome. And Micaiah. Micaiah was awesome. A lot of us on team didn't know Micaiah until he came on the trip, but he's an awesome guy. He was everywhere, and he ended up helping Ben with some of the tech stuff that you see here as well. So thanks for that. He had a great time. We won't talk about Singapore with all the tech stuff, but Micaiah, this was your first time out of Australia, right?
Yes.
And I think it was your first flight.
Yes.
So you did it good for the first time. You chose a good one. But share with us, what was your highlight of Cambodia, and was it what you expected?
No. I loved everything, and it just really surprised me how much they're so lovely. They're not bullies. And just being at the schools, that was really fun.
Micaiah, would you go next year again?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Fantastic.
Micaiah definitely got the most photos with any of the students, especially the girls loved Micaiah. They thought he looked like Spider-Man or something. Tom Holland. They thought he looked like Tom Holland. And he got videos made about him, with slow music, slow motion. And his hat is just an iconic piece. It's sat at a different angle every day. Micaiah is a legend.
So good, Micaiah. So good. Now, Rosie. Rosie is one of our amazing youth leaders here, and was also heavily involved in doing what we were doing over there with the youth. So Rosie, can you tell us, how was it, like were there challenges, or was it different, or what was your experience in taking your youth leader skills over there and helping run the games and segments and times with the youth at the schools?
Yeah, well, I've never actually run games at youth in Australia, so that was that was new for me, and it was very fun and I enjoyed it. I guess a challenge at times, a language barrier, but there were so many ways of working around it. I think laughter and fun is such a universal language. And so once they understood what we were doing and they joined in on the fun, I think that was when we were able to impact them and show God's love through that. Yeah.
So good.
Awesome. Pastor David. Pastor David spent most of his time at the pastors' conference teaching there. It was just incredible. He did such an amazing job. His interpreter did make a mistake, though. What did he say? You were born 100 years ago?
No, actually it was worse than that.
A Christian?
He said that I'd been a Christian for 100 years. So I had to get up the next day and say, yes, I know I'm old, but no, I haven't been a Christian for 100 years.
Pastor David, can you just share a bit about the pastors' conference? And also, it's been about 5 years since you've been back to Cambodia. What was the impact that you've seen that Emerge Church has had over there?
Look, the pastors' conference was awesome. We had about 120 pastors from Sisophon and the surrounding areas that came, which is great. And so we had 2 days just to pour into the lives of these pastors and just to encourage them to serve the Lord. I think one of the biggest things I noticed from the first trip was just all the networks and the connections. So this last pastors' conference was organised by Pastor Chin, whereas this pastors' conference was organised by the committee. And so that just opened doors, I think, into all the churches. And so that's why I think we had so many. I think one of the other real standouts, I think, were the young men. So we had 2 young men, John, and I won't pronounce the name of the other one. Joe might want to if he wants to, but that's okay. He had a name. He had a name that didn't translate all that well into English, but didn't come across culturally. Yeah, and but they were just amazing young men, and so I thought, well, here you go. This is the next generation coming through. So that was really good to see.
Yeah, so good.
And one thing I came away with personally was their faith. You know, they might not have all the teaching, but they do have faith. And so when I sat down at lunch on the first day, the chairman of the church's committee told me about how God raised his daughter from the dead, and that was the thing that locked him into serving Jesus. And then at lunch the next day, I had a lady come up to me who gave me her testimony of how God raised her from the dead. And so 2 lunches, 2 testimonies of God raising from the dead. And so you come away going, yes, they might not have all the knowledge, but boy, don't they have some faith. Yeah.
So good. It's awesome. Danielle, you did a massive thing for us. You helped put together and run the uni teams. And so we want to say thank you tonight for doing that for us while we were over there. So good. Yeah, come on, let's encourage her. Thank you very much, Danielle. Now, you faced some challenges, but you saw God pull you through. So my 2 questions for you is, how did it impact you? But also, how did you see the impact for the uni students over there?
So for me, it was just an amazing experience going back for the second time, and this time getting to do it with my brother. Just going to the uni had a plan, but obviously once you go there, that's Cambodia, it changes. We had to just go with the flow. Some of our classes were really good. It just went on without any hitch. And there were others which felt like I was beating a dead horse, trying so hard to actually get the class to interact. We got the kids, the students to just do like, would you like to do some storytelling? So each one had to tell a line story. So the stories ranged from most of the stories, I believe Cambodians love the concept of love. So every story had love in it. Either there was friend zoning somebody. There was the guy waiting for the girl for a long time. So it just had everything. It had everything. The story just went on, and at some point we had to say stop because the story just kept going on and on. But jokes apart, it's been for me during one of those what I called class where it was so hard to get the students to interact, was one of the best that I have ever been through. My experience was we broke out into little groups, and we just started interacting with the students. And I just asked the group that I was in, what do you want to see the future of Cambodia to be like? Now, we've got to make this, put it in context. These students are living through, they are just, spectators of something that's happened in history. They've never seen it with their own eyes. What they're seeing is just the after effects of that. So some of them were, I just don't care. I just want to leave Cambodia and go away to some other country. There's no future in Cambodia. But there was this one guy who stood up and he said, I want people to stop calling us a third world country. I want people to say, we are a developing country. And I just looked at him and I said, yeah, so you can do that. And I said, you're capable of doing that. If all of you got together, you can do that. And he said, no, Teacher Danny, you are smart. And I said, no, you are smart. And he said, no. And at least for a couple of times, we went round and round that I said, no, you are smart and you are capable of doing that. And at the end of it, they all looked at me like I was gone off, trying to convince them that they were all smart. But that was it. That for me, that takeaway was that here was this boy wanting to change the future of Cambodia, and that's where the future lies. For me, the next day, Derek and Lisa met me, and then Derek and Lisa were saying, you keep saying you don't know what impact you've had on the kids, but these students just want to know when Teacher Danny is going to be back. And for me, that was like, wow, I don't know what impact I've had, but that's the kind of response I got. But to me, during that time, I felt like the Holy Spirit just tapped me on my shoulder and said, because I've struggled this year a lot with just with panic and with anxiety, just being able to speak to people. And here I am in a foreign country, talking to a bunch of students, telling them, you are smart, you are capable, you are able to do stuff. And the Holy Spirit tells me, so you are, you are capable of doing that. And for me, I think that is the best thing that happened to me in Cambodia, and something, will Teacher Danny go back? Teacher Danny will go back for as long as she can.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I had a very special experience with Danielle and Jesse and Daro, Pastor Chin's son. So we were out at the night markets and they had this big wheel, you see. And so Daro says to me, I'm scared of heights. I've never been on one of those before. I'm so nervous. I want to go on one. I'm like, I'll go with you. That's awesome. We'll go on that. So, you know, I had this very romantic Australian version of the big wheel in my head. So we get on and we're all happy and he's like a little bit nervous. I'm going, it's okay, it's awesome. Well, this thing starts flying. It was unbelievable. We're in these little carriages and we are moving. Now, you know, sometimes they move a little bit. These things were flying sideways and it just felt like you were just going to fly right off the wheel. And we get off and you can see there, I think he's still recovering from the ride actually. He's just like, but he did it. He was so happy. I was talking to Pastor Chin a couple of days later. I said, that wheel was wild, man. It felt like the little carriage was going to fly off. He's like, well, not that long ago. One actually did.
Oh my goodness.
If you go to Cambodia, don't do it. Don't do it.
It took the song, Jesus Take the Wheel to another level altogether. You're like, Jesus, hold that wheel, please.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Now we are going to hear from Roger. Yeah. Now, I was going to say so love, but I do believe that you and Joe had something going on there. I'm not sure if
Brother love. Brother love.
Joe says, so love. Am I supposed to ask the question? So love? Anyway, love. You were in Cambodia in 2013 and we met a gorgeous young man there, Pirum, back then. And this year we were privileged to go to his church that he now has. He was only a teenager. He was about 19 back then. He wasn't married yet. Now he's married with kids and he's got his own church and stuff. So on the Sunday, we went to visit his church. So can you just tell us a little bit of that experience and what it was like seeing him again now and everything that he's accomplished and sharing at the church and all that kind of thing?
Sure. Yeah, that's a good question. Just to cover that love thing, it was a funny story. I thought Nikki was behind me and I said, hey, love, have you... And it was Pastor Joe. So that's where that was coming from. But, yeah. Perim, it was really, really good to go back after not having been there for 6 years. And... you know, since we were there that first time, we obviously started a relationship with him when we visited his church, or it was actually his uncle's church. But he was doing stuff at the time with children that he was teaching. And so now he's actually got his own church, and he was engaged to be married at the time when we first met him. Nikki's actually kept in contact on Facebook with him. So it was really good to get back there and actually go to his church and see him. But I can just really attest to what so many of the others are saying, just the openness of their hearts to receive and the amount of faith that they have, you know, which I think David was talking about, just some of the miracles. But it was really humbling to be there. They're so happy that you're there to help them, but really just when you see what they're doing and the circumstances and that they're operating and doing, and this young man is now married and he's got 2 young children and he's running a church himself. He's serving in a uni. He's serving with children. He's just doing so much, but it's just amazing, like. Just their faith, you know, just the way that they serve continuously with next to nothing. His church was, it was like a shed that we would probably put our tools or maybe some cattle in, from terms of Australian aspects. And the house that Nikki mentioned about earlier, where we were asked to go and pray for the house of the young man, that was just a little one-room shack, which again would be like a tool shed for us, but this was their house, and it's kind of struck me that here we are, 2019, and the technology and everything that we have and are used to, and even so much around the world, but yet there's still people that are they're building a shed, and that's their first home. But just their faith and just the servant heart that they have is really good.
It's amazing. It's such a privilege to be over there as well. Sam Blackie was with us, her first time over there in Cambodia. So good to see Johnra here tonight. Good to see you feeling a bit better. You've been a little under the weather. So Sam, you also decided there would be a fantastic idea to eat tarantula. Do you want to tell us what happened when you tried to eat tarantula?
Well, it did fall off the stick after my first bite, which I'm not so upset about. But the first bite, it was nowhere near as bad as what I thought it was going to be. Like Ash said, it does taste like chicken. The bite that I got to have was like barbecue crispy chicken. It was quite good.
That's awesome. Now, Sam, you also had a really incredible experience with a young girl in a classroom. Can you share a little bit about that, please?
Yeah, so I started out on the field. I was weeding, pulling out weeds, which I don't mind doing normally, but at that point I was really questioning why I'd travelled halfway around the world to weed a soccer field. Anyways, as I was having those thoughts, this little girl comes up to me and she just asked me, how are you, what's your name? And we were just exchanging that, and then she just went straight into a hard question about how do you comfort your friend who has lost one of their family members? And I was like, okay, this is escalated very quickly. And I basically just said a few things about just be there for them. And then I asked her, where is this little girl? She says, oh, she's in the classroom. And so immediately I said, okay, take me to this girl. And so we went into this classroom and there were kids just running around everywhere. And then my eyes went straight to this little girl. She had her head down on her desk and she was just crying. And there was a seat open next to her, so I went straight and I sat down, I put my hands around her, and I wasn't even shy or anything. And her friend went and sat on the other side, and she was kind of translating. She knew a little bit of English. And basically, I was just saying to her, it's going to be okay. You are loved. And I said to the little girl, can you ask her if I can say a prayer for her? And so she basically said yes, even though the whole time she wouldn't look up at me, and she did actually tell her friend to tell me to go away, which I didn't. I sat there and I prayed for her, and I was crying and she was crying, and it was so beautiful. And basically by the end of the prayer, I spoke to her friend, gave her encouraging words. Her friend was like, I don't know if I can comfort her anymore. I said, no, just keep doing what you're doing. And she squeezed her friend that so much tighter, and it was just so sweet. And then I got up to go, and I said, okay, I'll see you later. And she actually looked up at me, this little girl, and she smiled and she said, bye. And it was just so amazing. Yeah.
So good. Isn't that powerful? Questioning why you're there, weeding a soccer field, and it's all because of a God appointment that just changed that little girl's life. It's so awesome. So good. Well done, Sam. Jeremy, my question for you, young man. If you go back to Cambodia, will you take your dad or will you take your mum?
My dad.
Oh, okay, moving on. Jeremy, you played on the band, and which was awesome. You're over there, you're in another country, you're stepping up, you're on the keys, which you're a whiz at. How is your experience in doing that, being a part of encouraging all of the youth at the schools as a part of the band?
It was amazing. I loved the vibe of everything. The drug rehab concept was amazing, especially with Let Go, like Harry was saying. Just got so into it, even though they had such little, anything really. And like to see them going from sitting down, just looking so cold and lifeless, to being like having fun and jumping around with us doing praise and worship. Yeah, it was great. And at the schools, it was less so, but it was also really good. Seeing all the kids being able to join in, and same with all the other concerts actually. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, Phil, you've been to Cambodia just a few times.
Yes.
Yes. How many times have you been?
This is my 6th time.
6th time. How awesome is
Come
that?
on.
He's a legend. Phil, can you just share with us a little bit about the different projects over those years and how you've seen it impact the community and the kids over there?
Yeah, definitely. So it's changed so much. I still remember like the first trip over there. I wasn't part of the first trip to the schools and stuff that we're doing here, but I remember seeing the pictures of like the toilets that those guys had to go and do. And I mean, when you pull into the school now that we do it, it's like the biggest block of school buildings, all new, like basketball courts, everything. Is crazy to see how much, I guess, has changed. And like, that's not us doing them. That's just the government investing in like what we've invested in as well. So it's just favour. And yeah, like the whole city of Sisophon, like the park where we first did the first concert, like when we got there that first time, it was like just a dirt field really with a stage. Now it's all completely like tiled, sporting facilities, aerobics at 6 a.m. It's like pretty much 5. I don't know, I slept through it. But yeah, it's pretty much just everywhere like that we've set foot. It's just like changed so much, and there's so much favour. I mean, even the governor's like the governor now. He wasn't that to start with. But yeah, he does. And coffee has developed quite well there. So if you're a bit, what photo?
Just quickly explain this picture for us, Phil. Come on.
It was for the kingdom.
Yes. I love it. It is powerful though, seeing the change. Is there anything you want to wrap up there?
No, that's probably, I've said enough.
Awesome. You're a good man, Phil. Jesse Stringer. Now, Jesse, you are one of our loved worship leaders. You're worship leading here on stage with us tonight. You were part of the team worship leading in front of thousands of Cambodians in a public concert on a Sunday night. Can you just give us a little insight into what that was like looking out over that?
Yeah, I definitely can. If anyone's ever seen me on stage like you would have seen tonight, I do get lost in worship, so wasn't fully aware of everyone else, but the presence of God, like that's something that just like, it could have hit you in the face. It was that strong, it was that sweet, it was that prevalent, like it was amazing just to actually worship, like being a worshipper, just worshipping with a whole bunch of people. We were singing in different languages, you know, maybe we didn't even know what the other person was singing, but it was all to God and it was for God. And so it was like a big family reunion, and there were people in the park who maybe weren't there for the concert, but it's nice to think that maybe we leaked a little of heaven into their lives. And so, yeah, it was an amazing, amazing experience.
Yeah, so good. So good. Now, Alex, right next to you there, yes. Now, Alex, I might have experienced a little bit of emotional manipulation from you on this trip. You see, this for Alex might, we found out, be his last trip. So he is proudly promoting the last tour of Alex Lumsden on the Cambodian worship band. And I saw him tell Pete, "Oh, Pete, don't go to bed. No, Pete, please stay. Oh, Pete, this is probably my last trip. Pete, please stay. Pete, oh, come on, Pete. Oh, Pete, it'll mean so much to me if you stick around." Alex.
Yo.
If this really was your last trip, can you just share, you've been there so much, Alex, can you just share one highlight from your time over there in Cambodia? Just one.
That's difficult.
Yes.
But before I do, as true to form for every year, my little buddy's got 2 gifts to give out. So the first ones to the stage, you'll get them. They're buffalo hide with the Cambodia. I normally bring a gift back for 2 people in the church.
2 people?
If you want
2
it,
people?
come and get it.
Run,
I'm gonna quickly
run,
throw it.
run,
Quick, go,
run,
go, go.
run.
Give him the gift, Micaiah. Yes, good job.
Yes.
One highlight.
I know you've got lots and lots. That's why I'm not asking for your most favourite.
My most
Just
favourite.
one highlight that you can share with us tonight.
Okay. I'll try and fit them all into one. No, towards the end of at the school, because this is my fourth time, and just seeing some of the kids, like go from grade 8 to grade 11 or grade 9 to grade 12. So once they get into grade 12, and if they go to uni, you don't see them again generally, because they might go to Badambong or somewhere like that. And he had a couple of the boys, and some of the ones that have been know them. I can't remember their names, but they sort of come back every year. They started coming to the concerts the last 2 or 3 years as well, from just because we've advertised them, they've come to. But anyhow, they come to me and said, "Grandfather." So, and I like that. For me, that was an honour, because if you actually know the history of Cambodia, men my age, they've gone missing in the sense of they're not there emotionally because of what they experienced. So, and so they're either not there because of alcoholism or whatever, or drugs, or they're dead. So, there still are men my age there, but it's a young society. So, that was a high honour for me. And as far as, from my perspective, that's probably one of the big highlights of my trip.
Alrighty, Peter.
Hi.
Yes or no? Was Alex emotionally manipulative?
I think Alex starting to be sentimental, especially after the concert. Like, I would just hang out in the park. Like, we just sat there and already 12 midnight. Akun.
Oh, there we go. Akun. Okay. Now, Pete, you guys all know Pete. He's often up here drumming, but he actually works upstairs in our kids' church as well. I mean, he is absolutely amazing. He works with kids during the week as well. And it was awesome for him to actually go out to one of the kids' churches on the Sunday. And so, Pete, can you just share a little bit with us about going out to the kids' church and how you saw it impacted them and also how it impacted you?
To give you a little bit of background, Nikki asked us to visit this church, and it's just very close. It's just at the back of we're the earliest to come back in the hotel after that Sunday, because it's just right at the back of the hotel where we stayed. This local pastor and a missionary, for many years they've been working with these kids. What they do is these kids coming from slum area, if you picture a slum area back in the Philippines where I came from, it's really, really depressing place, really, really not a good place to stay. So they pick up these kids, put it in his he has a service, a youth. They pack all the kids no, nothing at all. They're just like sardines inside, really, really full. I was surprised when they arrived. So this local pastor, Pastor P-Pop, he just picked up these kids and then brought it in the building. So, and then they'll have Sunday school every Sunday. So me and Shubon were there, and I was when I was there, I just started to play with them, try to connect with them, and it's just so amazing how these kids being there, me and Shubon being there is you could see how they were so grateful. The language barrier is always an issue, but they sometimes mistook me I'm a Khmer, a Cambodian. They talk to me many times. They're I cannot say anything. So yeah, that's kind of of an advantage, but that's up to them. I was just but yeah, I talk to them, and then they see you you're very cool, you accept them, you're so compassionate with them, you're so appreciative with what you're doing, who they are, regardless of where they came from, what economic status they are from. You accept them of who they are. It's so I believe it's so transforming in them, because even just one day. This is my first time, by the way, going to Cambodia. When they get home, back in that youth, like sardines again. They just like could not like. It's hard to say goodbye. It's like a song, like it's hard to say goodbye. It's like, oh my gosh, like I was like, oh my goodness. So like I believe like our presence, the whole team probably is really impact them, like being there, like show comfort to those who need comfort, show love to those who need love, show grace to those who need grace, show hope to those who are hopeless. It's amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, Pete. All right, Yvonne, your first time in Cambodia.
Yes.
And you actually experienced the miracle before Cambodia to come to Cambodia with work. Yes. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I'm hoping this will be a bit of an encouragement for people who've been wanting to go to Cambodia and haven't been able to yet. And I guess my whole experience, just quickly before I share what happened, can be wrapped up in a Bible verse, which is Romans 8:28, and I just want to share it with you guys. And it says, "And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them." And that was so evident for me, like even before, obviously I went to Cambodia. I always thought that a missions trip was all about, helping the people where we're going and what we're going to do. But it was so good to see God work in my life personally, even before I went there. And so with work, my workplace, which is a bit crazy, we got to put our holidays actually a year and a half in advance. And I had no idea that I'd be going to Cambodia this year until maybe about 2 months beforehand. And so I was very nervous about going and asking my manager about it, and it got approved that day. And it was crazy. There was no way, and especially school holidays, that's a big deal. And I have no kids, so kind of no rights to having school holidays off in my workplace. But yeah, it just worked out, and so that was pretty amazing. And I guess the second part of that, which I shared with the team, which was really personal miracle for me, was the fact that I got to go with Joe. That was a big deal. I had always wanted to do my first mission trip at least with him. And that seemed a bit impossible, but yeah, it happened. So that was awesome. And so, yeah, hopefully that'll encourage anyone who's been wanting to go. So yeah, keep believing and keep praying for it. Yeah.
Awesome. And Giovanna, can you just add, what did you find most impacting about Cambodia?
For me, it was just the people. I recently learnt about their history, which wasn't very much so of a history because it was about 30 years ago or 40 years ago, so that's quite recent. It was pretty horrific, and yet the people were so beautiful and they're just so full of joy, even with the little that they have. And it was crazy how, we go and do stuff for them and help them and try to bring hope, and yet they're impacting probably our lives even more than what we'd expect it to. And so, yeah, I think there are a few people that I got to meet there that, I'll carry in my heart for quite a while. So, yeah, hopefully I'll go back. Who knows?
Awesome.
It's awesome. Now, Frank, we haven't left you till last for any other reason other than you sent us as a team a very encouraging message. You'd already left, we were still there, and you shared with us something with us which was just powerful. So I'd love you to share that with us tonight. But for you, how did it impact you personally, and then how would you inspire others through that?
Yeah, I think first of all, we have to be thankful for God opening the hearts of the people here in Emerge, supporting missions and the projects that we do every year, because without everybody here and those that are not here tonight, those things wouldn't be possible. So we've been able over the years to do many different things, from planting the trees this time round to water filters to paving the school, to do all sorts of things, painting the school. And all of that, of course, comes at a cost. And so Emerge Church members have really shown their heart for Cambodia, and I'm very grateful for that on a personal level. I've been going now since 2015, once or sometimes twice a year. And this year my highlight was being able to give out 1,000 bottles to these kids at the Ambo Primary School that were funded through the trivia night last year. And through our life group that organized the trivia night, we've been able to raise the funds to give out those bottles that came at a substantial cost, albeit they came from China via Alibaba. And John was the organizer of that, so I'm also very grateful for him to jump into that and get it organized and get them to Sisaporn on time. So yeah, I'm forever grateful for everything that the people of Emerge do for Cambodia. Thank you.
All right, now Pastor Joe, you are normally back home when the trips to Cambodia happen, but this year you got to experience it firsthand, and you like to take the most of every opportunity. And we would love for you to share with us just a little bit about your highlights on the trip and how you felt it was going over there to Cambodia, as opposed to watching it from a distance.
It was incredible. I've been in lots of other third world countries and developing countries around the world, and there is something different about the way that they experience God to us in a Western, or much more developed country. And for me, the biggest highlight was seeing the hope of the light of Christ. That when we went there, through the concerts, through planting trees, through everything that we did, through the teaching at the pastor's school, the hope of the light of Christ, you can see it evidently working. And for me, that was just amazing. Probably the one other thing for me that was the biggest highlight was seeing the undeserved goodness of God in my own life. Like, I've experienced that thought many times, but again, just being, in this place where so many have so little, I was like, I experienced this one moment with this one little boy that had only one full limb. The other three weren't full, and just, so polite and so kind and so honest, and I just bawled my eyes out while I'm looking at this little boy, and I, in that moment, I was like, God, help me to always be content. Help me to remember this little boy, that I will try and live with less, so that I can have more to be able to give to other people. And so not only did I see the hope of Christ just like flooding this country through what you guys are a part of over there through Emerge Church, it is just phenomenal, but also just that personal impact for me. So it was amazing. So that was my story. And I know you've heard lots of stories tonight, but the little snippets of what was an amazing trip. So if you're thinking about going, don't just think, oh yeah, maybe I'll go chat to one of these guys and hear more about their story. But we're going to ask Jason to close off our service tonight. Thank you.
Can we give everyone a hand here? Can we give them a hand? That was awesome. Some of these people, not everyone feels super comfortable speaking on stage, so you guys did a great job. Can we also just give Nikki a hand? She did such a great job. If you don't know, Nikki runs our missions here at Emerge Church. She just does a great job, and it was just such an awesome trip that she put together, and she really did a lot in running. Church, like Joe was saying, if you are interested, if you heard something, if you heard one of these stories and it sparked some interest, or you just felt something in your heart, I really, really encourage you. You can register your interest. We already have something up on the hub at emergechurch.life for you to go and register your interest. So if you even have the tiniest bit of interest, I really encourage you, just in faith, go and put your name down. It doesn't mean you're committed to everything everything. You don't have to pay. You don't have to put a deposit down. But just go in faith and put your name down if you want to come along. It's my 4th time. I've been 4 times. It's been better every year. You know, God's hand is on Cambodia. And specifically, God's hand is on the areas we've been going to. You know, we've been going to Sisapon, and just like so many people said, when we first went there was just dirt fields, which is now just amazing, like a town park kind of thing. It's incredible. You know, the governor is asking us to come back even more than once every year. There's just amazing favor in that place for Emerge Church. So I really encourage you, jump on board while this is happening. You know, great things are happening when Emerge Church goes over there. Register your interest. We want to see you there. No matter how old or young, we have all different ages here. We have people doing all different things in life. It doesn't matter. There's something that we can give for you to do. There is people like Jeremy. There's people like Alex. And we can do things for... And, you know, there's something for everyone there. So I really encourage you. It's an amazing trip. We believe here at Emerge Church that every single person should go on a missions trip at least once in their life. And so if you haven't, no matter how old or young you are, I encourage you, register, pray about it, think about it, talk to your family. And we really hope that you can come along with us next year in 2020.